You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. So it begins again. Welcome to CreepGeeks Podcast. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And this is Season 8, Episode 324.
Escaped super monkeys, UFO history, Amelia Earhart mystery continues, and Lucid dreaming app.
Yeah. So here we are. Welcome back to the podcast. If this is your very first time listening to the podcast, we're glad you're here. And if you listen all the time, we really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm sitting here, and before we get started, and I have my phone on a little stand, which I do occasionally, right? Mm-hmm. And for some reason, Siri is just bouncing around like recording everything I'm saying, and I don't even use Siri because Siri and all AI are the devil.
Okay.
It's weird. It's like, I haven't, now it stopped. Yeah, you caught me, right? You caught me listening to you? Is that what it is? You're looking at me good. I don't know. Strange things are afoot. Things have been strange just in general. So we're going to kind of roll into the podcast, but we'd like to give you a couple different ways you can communicate with the podcast. If you'd like to kind of reach out to us or, be a part, well, you can certainly do that.
Yeah.
There's a telephone number if you're old school and you want to call, or you can leave a textual message on that.
That phone number is going to be 575-208-4025.
Yes.
You can also reach out to us on social media. We have a pretty active Facebook group, so please join that group. Easy to find. CreepGeeks Facebook group. You can also find our Facebook page where we post when we do new episodes. We are on TikTok as well and Instagram.
Very nice. All right. Okay, so anyway, we've been kind of doing some things, and we're in Western North Carolina where we broadcast strange news and stories and personal experiences from our underground bunker in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
One of the things we have in Western North Carolina is the Brown Mountain Lights, and even though it's not in the title, we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. We also have some other strange things to sort of talk about, but I think we need to talk about the election. And I know you're scared to death because you're afraid that people are going to hate us because we're going to talk about the election. Because, to be honest with you, this whole political process and the election that we just had, I hated every bit of it. I hated seeing the ads on TV. I hated all the fear generated from everybody, just in general, and all the, the scariness and everything. It's just like, come on, man. And primarily because in Western North Carolina right now, a lot of things are still destroyed. Yeah. It's going to be years, and every time we take a little trip and go into downtown, somewhere like Old Fort or Marion, or even try to look at Swannanoa, it is sort of just destroyed, man. Now, of course, some worse than others, like Swannanoa.
Yeah.
But it just,
Chimney Rock.
Yeah, Chimney Rock, Lake Lure. I mean, it's awful, and then we have to deal with all the other stuff that's going on. But,
yeah.
I mean, things are kind of getting better, but there are areas that are either A, never going to be fixed, or B, it's going to take years, or C, we'll see, right? I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I made a joke the other day about how, so far this year I've had, within barely 2 months, COVID, a hurricane, like a life-changing natural disaster, the election, and then all last week into this whole, holiday weekend, I had some sort of stomach flu. And
yeah. 2020 was awful, and it's like, let's just go ahead and round out this 4-year period, right?
I'm just like, I can't take no more.
It was like, okay, so we had the traumatic crap of 2020, and then a couple years of just ongoing garbage. And then let's just culminate it with all of this stuff, So it is what it is, but hopefully it'll get a little bit better. We'll see, just in general. I mean, I don't know. I'm optimistic. I was optimistic at the end of 2020 too, or 2020 as well, I should say. I'm like, heck yeah, things are going to get better. Looking up. We took a trip in 2021. That was nice.
Yeah.
It's like, and after that, it's just been like, no. And I figured out what it is.
What?
The level of normalcy for people
Yeah.
has sort of just shifted over into just all this garbage happening all the time. So we're getting used to it.
Yeah.
But things have gotten a lot worse. So as far as what we're going to say about the election, it's going to be this. An election happened. I wrote a little thing just to make you happy.
Why?
Because you were afraid I was going to make everybody angry. Like whatever side you're on, you would just be mad about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, you're like, All right, so here's what I wrote. It's slightly political, right? Here we go. About half of the country disagrees with you, the listener, right? If your candidate won or didn't win, just remember, about half the country feels like you do. See what I'm saying? I mean, it's cut and dry, right?
Uh-huh.
Because it's not like, a small amount on one side or a small amount on the other side, change things. It's like, no, man, the country has been pretty divided for a minute.
Yeah.
So there you go. So, and it's like, there's really no victors in the shit show. It's like, come on down to Garbage Town, USA. Right? It is. It's true. It's like,
and see, I almost, yeah.
It's like, let's have a race, guys. And we all have, to make it fair, we all have 4 flat tires. Here we go. And no gas. And it's like, here we go. Right? It's just kind of, it is what it is right now. So anyway, I just want to kind of get it out of the way. Because we did have an election, so we got to talk about it. Because the rest of the world was talking about it too. So just, things are what they are. But I do want to kind of talk a little bit about the Brown Mountain Lights.
Okay.
We live really close to the Brown Mountain Lights, and some of the access areas we can go see them were pretty hard to get into because of the hurricane. I don't know if that's still the case because some time has passed, but I'm sure there's people that can sneak in to go see different access or viewing points. I had a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
The first thought was, and I just thought this, so it's a recent thought. Mm-hmm. With all the land mass that's been shifted around, all the flooding and the sort of, trees and all this crazy stuff just getting ripped down, landslides, mudslides, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is it possible that in that particular area, in Linville Gorge and the surrounding area there, that, what if we don't ever see him again? Because land moved here. That's the thing. It wasn't just rain and people like, oh, these guys weren't prepared for a hurricane because of rain. It's like, no, man, landslide, mudslide, large quantity of earth has been moved and things have been shifted and creeks and rivers have been diverted. And it was serious business.
The Linville Gorge itself has changed. I've been following a photographer that I met earlier this summer. He does a lot of the Blue Ridge Mountains photography. And basically, he has gone up to a small resort up towards the Linville Gorge that is very close to the area, and they were sitting on the back deck watching pretty much the whole parking area, the whole visitor center wash away. And then they hiked around because they actually live right there. And I think one of the boulders at the top of the upper falls is actually gone now.
Yeah.
And
it's not just like our little area too. Even outside of Asheville, one of our Patreon listeners is, his area has been changed.
Yeah.
Because Asheville was getting all the news, but it makes you wonder if things like these spook lights, spirit lights, ghost lights, whatever you want to call them, or Brown Mountain Lights, right?
Yeah.
If we're ever even going to see them again.
I think.
Well, nobody knows. We have no idea because, to be honest, we still don't exactly know what actually causes the Brown Mountain Lights. I mean, there's lots of theories out there.
I wish we could get up to the parkway because.
Well, we probably could. I know you're shaking your head no. Right now, there's somebody listening to the podcast in our area. Like, I get you up there, no problem. Let's go.
We're trying to make friends with those people. Okay, we are.
Well, it depends. We kind of got to look at, because here's the thing. You get up on the parkway, right? If you do stupid stuff over, it can be federal. Mm-hmm. That means bail is way more expensive than at a local level. Like, well, if you can set your bail, it's $149. That's easy. Federal, to get if you get a ticket or something like that, it says the United States of America versus Omi. I've gotten one of those. I got a parking ticket on a base one time, military base. And I got a ticket. And it basically said, United States of America v. me, Greg. I was like, man, that's
currently the Pisgah National Forest, our particular district of the Pisgah National Forest, leading all the way up to the Parkway and the Blue Ridge Parkway, remain closed. So that includes some of the access points from Burke County, McDowell County, which I know those don't mean anything to people, but a lot of the access into areas like Spruce Pine, Linville Falls, even parts of Little Switzerland are still inaccessible. You can go the long way into Little Switzerland and then eventually make it towards like Spruce Pine area.
Well, sure. The long way is actually the easiest way to drive, which would be like, okay, let's just put an extra $10 worth of gas in the van and roll out. Like,
I still don't have enough info if the Brown Mountain Overlook is accessible, and that's what I've been waiting on emails for because I've been asking people.
Well, I've been checking Google Maps because people post pictures.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, they just post them whenever. So you can kind of...
The best thing right now to check is drivenc.gov.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that, if somebody can get up there and take a picture and post it on Google Maps, then it doesn't matter if that road's open or not. They were there, especially if they, put the date. It's kind of a sneaky way because I've seen lots of posts like that where it's like, you look at Google Maps and it's like that area is completely closed off, but you got people posting pictures. But, it's funny. I haven't seen very many destruction pictures on Google Maps. Makes me wonder if they're just basically making sure that you don't get to see the destruction in an area on Google Maps, which I think they call it censorship. Which, I get it. It's their app. They can do what they want. But, they've proven themselves, Google as a whole, to be heavy-handed with the censor hammer. So... I don't know, but here's another thought. There's all sorts of theories of what makes Brown Mountain Lights. Like we've gone and seen the Brown Mountain Lights, seen them a couple different times. We went to Marfa, Texas to see the Marfa lights. We went to another place to see some lights, but we couldn't get access to it because the sneaky way to go see the lights, I'm not going to say where they are because honestly, I can't remember exactly. It was like, just walk 2 miles down a railroad track at night.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've never been to this town before. I'm like, I'm not that adventurous. Let's just go walk down a random road. Like, especially, we're talking about like 2 miles. That's a long way to walk on a railroad track in the dark.
Yeah.
You got to lug all your camera stuff. And if you're not ready for it and haven't planned it out, that's what makes you have to pay your copay in emergency rooms and stuff. And like, what happened there? Well, I stepped on this and it went right through my foot. That kind of thing. Makes your socks wet. Ew. It's gross. That's an awful, awful feeling. But the idea is that, some places think that maybe quartz is, like a piezoelectric effect that's under pressure and it kind of creates these little balls of light or sparks or embers or, even, the idea of plasma balls. It's actually what the lights are.
Yeah.
Is the thought. But the thought is, what about lithium? Because, lithium became important because all of a sudden all these TikTok people are like, they're coming to take the lithium mines away from the people. The government is coming in and they're going to take it away. Right? Because that's what they've been saying. They've been yelling this stuff. And it's like, lithium is an ore. And you may be familiar with lithium because it's what was blowing up in people's pockets with their phone batteries just going out of control. Right?
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the information associated with lithium, and I'm not a what do you call them, a rock guy, a geologist?
Yeah.
But if they typically contain lithium, right? The chemical composition is like as a major constituent, along with other elements like oxygen, silicon, I should say, aluminum, iron, manganese, fluorine, sometimes sodium, potassium, and other elements, right? So you put all that stuff together, and it makes something that's highly chemically reactive, and the chemical as in the result that happens, right?
Yeah.
Since they're known for their high chemical reactivity, and it reacts with water, oxygen, and many other elements, for example, it reacts, I like how they say this, it reacts vigorously with water to produce lithium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. I think that stuff's flammable.
Yes.
And lithium can also react with oxygen in the air. Huh. So if some of these electrochemical properties, right, and since it's widely used in batteries, it's because of its electrochemical excellent reactivity with different things. It's widely used in batteries, and it can be used in other various electronic devices and electric devices. It has a low electrode potential, high energy density, and a good electrochemical stability, and it makes it an ideal material to store energy.
Yes.
It also has a relatively low heat capacity, which means that they can heat up or cool down pretty quickly. So it gets warm while you use it, cools off pretty fast. So again, it lends itself to work great in electronics and batteries and things like that. But what if you mix that stuff with some quartz, add some humidity, a temperature shift here and there, maybe some movement in the ground, and then poof, there you go. It's just sparking off little ground mounted light balls. And different materials in the ore can create different colors. And I haven't just seen one color brown mountain light. I've seen multiple, different colors.
I've seen mostly white.
Well, yeah, but I was looking where the orange and yellow balls were, and you were looking where the light white blue looking balls were, and it's just I don't know.
I have seen one orangish one.
Yeah.
So, but I think this is a really interesting theory because lithium, depending on what it interacts with, primarily lithium, when it sparks, it's like a reddish. But there are many instances where, due to different chemicals or different environmental scenarios, it may spark like a whitish yellow, some other colors very similar to the Brown Mountain Lights. Now, I do not have a chemistry degree, but I'm sure different compositions of lithium could possibly spark many different colors that have been reported in the ghost light phenomenon. I mean, when different examples of compositions of lithium include lepidite, which is a really pretty purplish gemstone, petalite, which goes anywhere from a greenish to like a grayish weird color. And if you look in the creeks and in the valleys in this area, and you can find chunks of lithium crystal in various conditions, whether it's like specimen quality or just low grade crumbling in your hands, turning to dust, that could possibly be picked up by the wind and somehow,
who knows?
I mean, this is a really cool theory.
Yeah. Now, if we're completely wrong, tell us.
Yeah.
Throw it out there. Flex your Reddit degree.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Now,
come on.
One really interesting thing, though, is with Hurricane Helene, the sedimentary deposits in our region have been greatly affected.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of them you can actually see.
Yeah, not only can you see a lot of it, but there's entire just sections of land that have now been cleared, or the floods stripped away the first couple of layers of clay.
There's boulder fields in areas.
Yeah, we have an area called NC 80 and Buck Creek, and if you go onto like TikTok or YouTube right now, there's these very devastating drone videos of just like entire swaths of areas that used to be a tiny creek, and by tiny I mean like a 6-foot creek, and now we are looking at like 20 to 30 feet of boulder fields wide, and mile long,
Yeah.
So all this exposed stuff, and the fact that one of the things we experienced in Old Fort was a high exposure to clay minerals and clay dust with this lithium, and as well as other stuff, like other chemicals. I wouldn't be surprised if right now people are seeing more ghost lights.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean...
But now it just makes it hard to determine if it's actually a ghost light or if it's just a natural byproduct of having all these chemicals and other man-made stuff that's been buried in the ground for the past 100 years, been kicked up and brought up to the surface because, you have a tendency to bury all this stuff over time. Things get buried, right?
Yeah.
But now you just mixed it all up and brought it back up again.
Yeah.
And it's washed all this stuff all over the place. So just, going out and digging in some of these creeks and rivers and stuff like that and shoveling dirt out of your house, it can be pretty toxic.
Yeah.
Because this is the East Coast.
Yeah.
Now, if this same sort of thing, and if the water and all the capability if there was the same level of water like in somewhere like New Mexico, and it came washing through. Can you imagine how much uranium and nuclear stuff that has fallen out of the sky and settled? Mm-hmm. You know, it would all come back. So because it doesn't go away. So
if you look at certain like mindat.org and stuff of the area that we live in, you see this huge swath or section of lithium, and then down towards where we live, tin oxide and asbestos, like naturally occurring asbestos type materials. And I'm just like, we had this horrible hurricane with horrible flooding, and then we had a drought. And we've also had crazy temperature changes.
Well, I'm glad we had the drought.
All of that is conducive to the ghost lights, but it's also conducive to all these weird molecules and chemicals and minerals fluffing up into the air on top of everything else. We have everybody in Old Fort trying to clean up the place. Wear a mask.
Yeah. I mean, if it was any time to wear a mask, it'd be during a natural disaster cleanup because you don't know really what you're breathing. I mean, think about all the paint chips and stuff from people out in the front yard sanding cars.
I was going to say the historic houses that washed away.
Oh, yeah, that's it. You're like, somebody out there with
you're talking about somebody's
orbital sander, right? Sanding off that good old lead-based paint back in the day and putting some Rust-Oleum on it, just letting the wind take it.
I'm thinking about these like vintage, like antique homes.
Well, vintage Trans Am Camaros, whatever you got there, old pickup trucks. Heck yeah, man.
Some dude's motorcycle.
I got a Makita random orbital sander. I've sanded multiple Volkswagens down and painted them up. Pretty.
Some guy's motorcycle that he lost like 8 years ago. Like it
just showed up,
disappeared off his property, got exposed by the flood. He was like,
well, I hope the insurance company doesn't let me know.
He was like, well, I guess some kid took it for a joyride behind the school.
Or maybe he took it for a joyride. You never know, man.
Yeah.
All these, can you imagine all the washers and dryers that idiots throw off the side of like mountain roads and junk have just started showing back up now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, the idea is that maybe lithium has something to do with it because lithium seems like according to what we're reading, an electrochemical. It's highly stable and can, has a very high potential for chemical energy.
Yeah.
And I guess if you add all that stuff together and then release it, maybe that's what you would consider to be plasma, at least from a distance, because you're not seeing these things like 10 feet away from you. You're seeing them a great distance.
Lithium and potassium are highly reactive. The only thing is, though, I don't know the weight of those two minerals, Like, would they blow up in the dust?
I don't know. Maybe.
And
then here's my just third thought. Maybe it's the byproduct of lithium mining that's causing these sparks and sort of reactive thing. And the lithium mining has been occurring for thousands of years or whatever because time travelers or aliens, take your pick, are coming back and getting the lithium out of the ground. And that would explain the time when basically the Spanish in 1700s or whatever Spanish, what's his face was coming through. I cannot think of that guy's name.
Cortez?
No, Cortez.
No, that's what they say here on the East Coast is like.
I don't know, but yeah. And then you had the natives, and they were seeing their lost relatives. That's the lantern lights of the families trying to find their lost relatives. So what if that was aliens or time travelers? Take your pick.
Or
just sucking the lithium out of the ground because they need it for the future.
Lithium is one of the lightest elements. It is lighter than oxygen. It is the third lightest element and the lightest solid and metal. However, it is soft and reacts with oxygen and water and is somewhat toxic. It melts at a relatively low temperature.
Yes.
Now, it's the lightest metal in the world, light enough to float, soft enough to cut with a butter knife, and a silvery white that's almost luminous until it's exposed to air.
See?
Yeah. And then the second question, if you do a Google research, because we all have Google degrees, can lithium float in the air? Lithium can certainly float in the air, and then you have to click and read the
Well, why don't you go ahead and put yourself on a watch list and say, how do you blow lithium, airborne lithium?
I'm not going to do that.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a sort of a reactionary mix of all this stuff that's causing, little like plasma-looking poof balls of energy that you can see.
North Carolina. One of these fact-checking websites.
Well, I want to know who fact checks the fact checkers.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, there you go. That's a theory. So, what do you think?
I think it's a viable theory.
The aliens and time travelers?
No, the lithium.
If you're going to go for one, you might as well just go for all.
Okay.
Roll them all together, right? Just get it all in there. Okay. So speaking of slightly political again, this is something I came across to sort of maybe temper somebody's anger if they're angry, right? And you shouldn't be, because really I wasn't there to make you angry, just letting you know. There was an Idaho congressional candidate who was basically champions Bigfoot. Champions. Why can't I read? I can't read or talk today.
I have had a sinus headache, and I'm getting, like, I should know more about this lithium stuff, and I'm like, darn, yeah.
It's not a competition.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, this guy ran on Bigfoot as part of his platform, as a huge part of his platform.
Okay.
I did take a look to see if he was like a legit candidate, not just somebody who just wanted to get into the, bring, in other words, he was just there for the press, right? The clout. Yeah. And no, he really was. I will tell you, he was a non-winner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So his name was Chandler Hadraba.
Okay.
And he was going against Sonia Galavaz for the Idaho
State House of Representatives.
Yeah, they're like District 16 state representative seat.
Yeah.
And I did watch the little news article and stuff because I wanted to see if this guy just was just an absolute, just sort of a weirdo, like, giving cryptid and paranormal research and ghost hunting and all that stuff a bad name. Because a lot of times they do that.
Yeah.
They'll find somebody's like, hey, man. And they it's like, come on, dude, stop. You're going to ruin it for everybody, right? Because there's a lot of legit people who enjoy this sort of thing. And you kind of want, But no, he was legit, and he went out there. And so, just to kind of give you an idea that so he was a Republican challenger, and he basically wanted to introduce the innovative ideas on how to boost tourism across Idaho, and he was using Bigfoot.
Okay. Which
is smart. A lot of a lot of states and stuff are doing that. And we actually talked about like the paranormal passport in our last podcast episode, where why not use tourism and sort of bring people to your place? Because if you ain't got nothing in your town, but you've had a couple Bigfoot sightings, that's something.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to want to go down there and see it, but some people will. You got to utilize every avenue you can if you're trying to bring revenue into your small town. Because you certainly ain't going to keep the kids there with the people that are already running things. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
Because you got people running these small towns that want to run it their way, and they're like shocked when the people leave, the kids, because they don't want to do anything that keeps the youth there. Mm-hmm. Oh, we can't have that downtown. Why? Everybody would go. No. We're trying to basically make our town look respectable.
Or boutique.
Yeah.
Hallmark-esque.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a ton of adjectives that have been thrown at me.
Yeah. I like the idea of, we're going to create a Hallmark town. It's like, no, you're not. You're not. You're not going to create a Hallmark town. What you're going to create is a ghost town.
Or, like, we want a niche community that stands out. And I'm like, okay, first off, you're not using the word niche, right?
No.
Second, I can make us stand out.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's like, you want people to come. You need to cast a wide net to bring in everybody if you want people to show up to your town. Yeah. Not make it so niche that if somebody's using a Google search engine or any kind of search engine and says, what to do in this little town, and you don't see it because you're not looking for, let me take a guided quilt tour or something like that.
Or worse.
Which 16 people are like, oh, I'm going to go to that. It's like, give me a Bigfoot festival where we got 17,000 people saying, I'm going to go. And then even if a tenth of them show up, you got, what is that, 1,600?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want something that shows up to your little town where you have to hire on and basically pay like EMT and cops overtime because there's so many people.
So I think what's not good is like when it's a town, like come here to stay and then go everywhere else to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like saying, hey, our hotels are cheaper. Which, that's a viable thing because when we travel, it's like, do we want to stay in the French Quarter in Louisiana, or do we just be about 35 miles away where there's, a $500 difference in hotel prices at night? Because then when you go into the French Quarter, you're like, wow, all these hotels look awful.
Wow, Omi's going to gag or puke because she wasn't expecting this to be this way. So.
Okay, now you have to describe what it was that was about that place that made you feel that way.
I didn't realize New Orleans smells bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Wait till you go to France.
Stop.
It's like, it's like we have centuries of pee.
It's so bad.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. When you check places out and they have sort of the Instagram filter on, like, this is amazing. And then you get there like, wow, this is trash.
Even Pepper
it's
was
like, come on down to Garbage Town, come and see the Louvre.
Even Pepper was just like,
yeah. Egypt smells funky too. Everywhere smells funky.
Gosh.
So I've been to a lot of places where it's like, wow, you could smell them coming. Like just the way that, it's different areas smell different. I mean, it's just everything about the area may be different than what you're used to. But some places, when you get in and you get away from that area for a while, you're like, man, you pull out a jacket you wore in Egypt for 3 months and whoa, you like, should I throw it away or should I wash it? But it was, when we were there was a lot of things that were just burning.
Yeah. Like
oil and just burning stuff. So, and it would get in you, and possibly even give you some cancer. Just a little give you a little touch, a little taste of cancer, right? Anyway. But yeah, I derailed myself, forgot what we were talking about, so I'm just going to roll into the podcast. Yeah. The Idaho congressional guy, he actually lost.
Yeah.
And he didn't lose by a lot. His challenger, she won by like 60 something %, and he lost by like, he got like 38%. So, I mean, I listened to him talk. He wasn't like a weirdo kind of a thing. And his ideas of using Bigfoot to promote tourism, especially in small communities that don't really have anything, makes sense. It's like, wow. Okay. And I can see where that'd be useful. And it's also something that maybe he probably shouldn't have, ran on that. Because it was a big deal to say, here's the thing.
Yeah.
What could be a big deal to you may not be a big deal to everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I don't understand. Everybody should like Magic the Gathering. And I'm like, I've never played that, so I'm not interested in that at all.
I actually had somebody ask me about that today.
Really?
Yeah. So I was just like,
it's like when Dungeons and Dragons really started to kick off, like in the late 70s into the 80s. People were like, we're so excited. And then there was like 90% of the country was like, what are you talking about? This is dumb. Go outside. His parents were like, go outside.
You can play Dungeons and Dragons outside.
You can now, but back then you had to get a little piece of notebook paper and build your character. I'm sure it's way different now. It's probably a lot better. But back then it was like, dude, I want to go outside. I want to do this. And rolling dice and making up stuff, and I'm the dungeon master, do what I say. It's like, let's go outside, man. I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to get on a canoe. Well, I grew up on a military base. We had everything on that base. We had a lake, so you could go fishing. We had more than one. You could rent a canoe, a paddle boat. You could go swimming in like 5 different swimming pools. Had a gym, bowling alley, archery range, challenge courses. About the only thing we didn't have that had been super fun for a kid is go-karts. And I think we actually had that at one time. They took it away. But yeah, movie theater, had a movie theater there. What else, man? Different stores to eat at. I mean, you could go on the base. You got your ID card when you were 10. You could basically go and be relatively safe because there was always base cops. It's military base. Everybody knew you had kids or whatever. Had a track you could run around on. It was just all sorts. Had a rec center thing. You had places to play pool, pinball, all that stuff. It was great. Yeah. What?
Okay.
Oh, it was. A lot of people don't grow, and the neighborhood was basically military brats. So you could have moms from Italy, Japanese moms, all just all over the place. And so it was a thoroughly mixed neighborhood. And I will remember that some moms were a lot meaner than others. Like a Japanese mom didn't put up with nothing. She would beat you and the person next to you if she caught her dog. It was true. And it was fine. Because we were usually doing something stupid. Like I remember watching one of my friends named Kevin standing on the roof of his house with a garden hose trying to put the front yard out because he had inadvertently set it on fire, and he wasn't worried about burning things down. He was worried that his mom was coming home. It was so much fun. And we waited, and his mom came home, and she was super mad that the front yard was on fire.
Okay.
Turns out he had a little bit of a fire problem. He really did.
Stop. Okay. How did we get from an Idaho politician to setting a yard on fire?
Because what's important to me and interesting to me may not be important to anyone else or the masses or enough mass of people to make it a viable thing to use your as a platform on your campaign. That's all. So speaking of UFO, historical records finally has a home. We did talk about this in our last podcast.
Yeah, I thought he had like...
It was supposed to be high school, but evidently it has turned into New Mexico Elementary School is storing one of the probably largest UFO archives.
Huh.
Right? It's now stored at a New Mexico Elementary School. I thought it was supposed to be stored at a high school, but that's fine though because it's close. So the New Mexico Elementary School is basically storing it, is holding in some portables, it's a portable school building, like off in the back. It's not like, I think, in the school, like you walk down the hallway or whatever. The National UFO Historical Records Center.
It's in Rio Rancho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we lived in Rio Rancho. It's like, there you go. And it's basically, they had a little ribbon cutting ceremony at the Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School in Rio Rancho. They've got 2 portable classrooms that they've basically taken this sizable archive and handwork of all of the stuff that this guy, David Marler, has gotten over time. He's basically had this thing going on for decades, and it used to be in his garage.
And then didn't he get like a portable...
He bought a bigger house. Or no, he extended, he put an expansion on his house to be able to keep holding this stuff. And I guess things got a little tight, and he's like, I got to get it out of here.
See,
and it's not like just like boxes of stuff just thrown together. It's organized, it's in filing cabinets, and it's a thing.
See, we need to go to Roswell because we haven't been in a while. They used to have a really good library too. I mean,
oh, they still do.
I wouldn't know. I mean, that's why
it's small.
We need to go check. I mean, it was small, but it was thorough. I mean,
yeah.
But I guess this guy is going beyond that. I wonder if he works with them at all. I mean,
he's probably gotten things from them. He's probably tried to give them things, and I think Roswell's probably like, "We're good, dude."
Yeah. Oh, this is very close to where me and Pepper would play Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But that's cool. So 2 portable classrooms full.
Yeah, I mean, it's a traditional historical archive dedicated to a non-traditional subject. So you can look things up. You can find things. It's just not like, let me have one person go grab a box off this shelf way in the back. And you can go there and you can check things out. You just need to basically get an appointment.
Huh.
So, and there's everything there. So, and you've got all sorts of stuff there, like uniforms and all sorts of just pieces that have been donated, memorabilia and historical type things for different events and stuff.
He can apply to like New Mexico's Division of Cultural and Natural Resources because this is functioning as a museum/library, like for digital archiving. Because, I mean, if he's got this much stuff, he should probably start getting it like digitally archived.
Well, maybe we don't know. Maybe he's been doing that. Maybe he gets volunteers or interns. But I mean, if there's any state that would allow that to become a thing, it should be New Mexico.
Yeah.
I think if you tried that in North Carolina, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You'd have to find some small town library. It's just like, we just need people to show up, or we're not going to have a library. Like, yeah, bring it all, man. We'll figure it out, right? But I think to legitimize the whole thing, a state like New Mexico would certainly consider that more than anything, I think, because there's enough weird stuff that happens in New Mexico that just falls right in line. It's part of the culture, man. Yeah. So
that's super cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, it finally happened, I guess. And when we go back that way sooner or later, take a trip or whatever, say hey to Dave and Kristen and stuff like that, then, we're going to probably swing by, maybe send an appointment. But you know how we have these big grandiose plans of these are the things we're going to do, and then you get on the road and you're like, after driving for about 3 days, you're like, oh man, I don't know, I just want to eat, and sit for a minute. Yeah, I'd certainly like to get out there and check it out. So there you go. We actually have a legit National UFO Historical Record Center.
That's pretty
I
cool.
think it should have its own building.
Yeah.
I think they should take a building that was going to be something that just didn't happen because of maybe grandiose real estate ideas that just didn't happen and say, hey.
So now we're taking a dig at Rio Rancho.
No, I mean, it just happened everywhere. You know, there was a real estate boom, and then all of a sudden it didn't happen anymore, and people were like, wait a minute. You know, remember when you could buy a house and just pay the interest, and then you were completely shocked when your mortgage went from being $800 to like $17,000 a month, and you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
People did that. They did it with commercial real estate too. And so if they're just sitting there, why not? Say, hey, why don't you hook me up, and I'll pay you $75 a month plus utilities. You let me take this warehouse, you know, this office building that doesn't exist anymore. That'd be kind of cool. It's a possibility. So I thought that was kind of neat. I wanted to put that in there. And here's something that we also talked about in previous podcasts a couple different times. And the idea was that they found the plane that allegedly found the plane that Amelia Earhart flew under the ocean using 3D side scan sonar and other stuff. And they're like, this is it. This is the plane. We know what happened to Amelia Earhart, or at least where the plane is.
Yeah.
Turns out it was a rock. Because I remember talking about it in the podcast, you know, kind of lamenting the idea that, man, it kind of sucks that some of these great mysteries are going to be solved because then it's no longer a mystery, right? And if it's no longer a mystery, you don't kind of care as much.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, that was the thing. You watch like that show with Leonard Nimoy. Oh, wow, why can't I think today? In Search Of. And in the beginning, right, when they talked about, you know, when he was talking about all the things they were going to be in search of, Amelia Earhart was in there. Ooh, and I watched all this stuff, and it's like she just disappeared. So you want her to be found, but you kind of don't want her to be found. You want her to be found so you can put an end to it so that you know what happened to her, right? Yeah. But you kind of don't want it to be found because then the mystery ends, like D.B. Cooper, right? He jumped in, we're never going to find D.B. Cooper.
So I found...
And then they're like, wait, we got it figured out. And then like, nope, yep.
I was thinking of, instead of Leonard Nimoy and... Nimoy and whatever that show was. For some reason, I got stuck on Jonathan Frakes and Beyond Belief.
Yeah, Beyond Belief.
But, like, I remember reading an article, gosh, it was, like, right before the hurricane. So all my saved tabs got closed permanently.
Yeah.
But it was saying that Amelia Earhart's already been discovered. So
no.
And that it's just us crazy wackadoodles keeping the mystery alive.
Just because you have an answer doesn't mean it's the right one. You're like, look at this tiny little bone fragment. It's probably from a white woman. Well, it's got to be her. The coconut crabs didn't eat all over. You know, nobody really knows for sure. But if they could find a plane and actually identify this is the plane, then we have a better understanding of where because I mean, it just goes to show if the plane is gone, then you want to look at the surrounding land and see if, you know, if the plane went under, but the thought is that the plane was kind of stuck on a reef and that she would have to go out when the water was low and use the radio and all that stuff. And eventually it just sort of settled off or fell off or did something. It's still a mystery, and it's not 100% for sure exactly what happened to her, if they actually found her or not, because there's also the idea that they were captured by the Japanese, you know, because it was around World War II, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? But, yeah, the sonar photo that they used to say this is the plane revealed to be a rock.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like a plane.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of looking at it going, there's lots of things under the water. It's hard to get an idea because sonar doesn't give you the clearest picture when it comes to this sort of stuff. It's just you're using sound to paint the picture. That's why when I went through school and became a sonar tech on surface ships, the idea that Daredevil could see as well as he could using his sonar and everything else. And I'm like, it'd still be kind of blurry, man. I mean, look at any ultrasound picture. You're like, what is that? You don't know what you're looking at.
No, it just looks weird.
Yeah. And people are like, look at that. And you're like, what is that? So it kind of is what it is. So recently, 40 monkeys escaped.
Wasn't it 43 monkeys?
I don't know.
Yeah, 43 monkeys escaped from a bio-research lab.
I should say over 40.
Yeah. The Reese's macaques slipped out of an alpha genesis facility in Yemisi? I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure.
Yemisi, South Carolina, which is just off I-95 in South Carolina. And that happened on Wednesday night.
What's freaky about the whole thing is not that the monkeys got out, is the name of the place.
Yeah.
Alpha Genesis.
Yeah. I'm like,
It's like, that doesn't sound sci-fi, crazy, creepy, weird,
like
right?
Resident Evil at all.
No, it's like Umbrella Corp, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you work for Alpha Genesis? I do. Like, oh.
It is, I mean, what do they do at Alpha Genesis? I mean,
Evidently, they experiment on monkeys. So cops were warning residents in South Carolina to shut their doors and windows after at least 43 monkeys escaped from a bio-research lab. Right?
yeah. It doesn't say what they do there.
Of course, they're not going to say what they do. Like, yeah, we just, do a little research. They're not out there putting lipstick on them. They're probably injecting them with all sorts of terrible stuff.
This looks like
This is like a movie, wasn't it? Like
fake-
Outbreak, something sort of like this?
I don't like their website.
Who?
Alpha Genesis Incorporated.
Well,
This does not look
It's probably government testing. Could
like
be.
a scientist would have done.
I don't know. Are they Chinese owned?
I don't know.
I bet you if you take a look, they probably are. Because they had like laboratories and testing facilities like in places like California. Chinese are here, man.
Okay, half the images on here I also have access to because I have a Canva account. This is
All right.
just looking more and more shady.
Maybe like it's just a fake storefront kind of thing. It's like a fake building, right? And it's a fake company, fake presence.
What do they do here?
They're evidently selling monkeys. They're poking them. Are they eating the monkeys? They just poking them and giving them diseases? What are they actually doing? We want to assure the community.
Development, therapeutic.
So they are basically shooting them up with diseases and stuff.
Therapeutic drug therapies, viral pathogenesis, small molecule administration,
Back it up.
pharmacokinetics,
Back it up. Viral what?
pathogenesis.
So I'm not saying, but in 2020, from bats, right? That was the thing. Oh, it's a bat flu.
And
Now we're going to have
procedures.
monkeypox. Some crazy monkey thing. Coming 2024.
Our team can provide you with the most cost-effective, high-quality, prompt, and personalized non-human primate research and support services in the industry.
So you just call them up and say, hey, I'd like to test this vaccine. I need about 5 or 6 different monkeys. Like, we have some beautiful monkeys. Just come on down. Let me show you these monkeys we got. Look at this. Look at this monkey right here.
Housing and CDC quarantine, contract research services, primates for biomedical research, primate bioproducts. Oh, that's awful.
Well, I'm not going down to MSC anytime soon. But, yeah, they're like, hey, it's cool, man.
Which is weird because if you look up this place, Yemisi, South Carolina, it looks like it would probably be a cool place to ghost hunt. Like, there's all sorts of creepy.
Well, they're using
stuff
some
there.
stock pictures of these 2 monkeys. They look one of them looks pretty angry.
Oh, Yemisi has a shrimp festival. I'm on their tourism website. Yeah.
So police and Alpha Genesis personnel have strategically set up traps around the area using thermal imaging cameras to track down the monkeys. So how are they capturing these? Are they actually capturing the monkeys, or are they just blasting them out of trees and throwing them in? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they actually doing here? So they wanted local residents to keep the windows and doors secured to keep the animals from getting inside. And they were also told, do not approach the loose monkeys. Instead, call 911 and report the monkey sighting.
Okay.
And this is in Beaufort County.
So this is 2 days ago. Only one has been recovered safely. There's still 42 on the loose.
I thought they caught like half of them or something like that.
Well, that was 2 days ago. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they've caught more of them.
I like the idea of like in Florida where they would film some of the Tarzan movies that some of the monkeys got out, and there's places in Florida that actually have monkeys. And it seemed to be they're good with it. The monkey's like, I like this. I can live here. And so now we have like indigenous monkeys and stuff. And so I think some of the sightings and the weird howls and stuff that you might hear in some areas are just basically crazy, monkeys, foreign monkeys.
Wow. So depending on the website you go to, the Mirror's claiming that the reason these guys escaped is because a worker left an enclosure door open.
So they got all the monkeys in one place?
I guess they did.
It may be an inside job. Monkeys are smart.
Yeah.
They're just looking for ways to get out. To release the biomedical monkey terror.
Stop it. Don't.
It's like a monkey flu. I know, it's kind of crazy because they kind of show the place and it doesn't look like you would expect a place to look like.
Police.
They got a chain link fence with the stuff so that you can't see through it. And it looks like a bunch of old buildings and just like, it looks like government buildings, honestly.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't have the sort of like glass and steel concrete, like, welcome to Alpha Genesis. It's like Alpha Genesis. Why didn't, they could have called it anything. Like, welcome to ABC.
Yeah.
Monkey place.
So.
Monkey Research Center.
Police are having to use thermal imaging cameras to help try and locate the primates that weigh about 6 pounds and do not pose a threat to the public.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Monkeys are not as cute and as fun as people think. I mean, look at chimpanzees, man. They do stuff like bite off hands and rip off faces because they take it personal. They fling poop at great distances.
The primates are exhibiting calm and playful behavior, which is a positive indication. We kindly urge the public to stay clear as we work diligently to safely recover these animals.
So what they're saying is the monkeys aren't smart enough to know they've escaped, and the monkeys are out there having a good time because they're not in a cage. And I'm like, yeah, they're happy, they're playful. Or is the monkeys like, we're angry, we tasted some freedom, so come at me and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
Okay.
But Reese's monkeys are very smart. They're originally from India and China, and they're known for their high intelligence. And this is according to National Geographic. So, if that's the one step below Smithsonian. I like National Geographic because it has way more pictures than Smithsonian magazine. If you compare the magazines, you had one for like the readers, and then you had one for some of the best photography in the world.
It's true.
It was in National Geographic.
Yeah.
So you read Smithsonian when you're trying to be smart. Look at National Geographic when you want to see the world. Yeah. So the monkeys have a long history in medical research and scientific research, and it even preceded humans going into space. Yeah, they just keep shooting monkeys into space. They don't need to get them back. Right? Remember that? We actually went to the place in, where was it? Alabama.
Yeah.
We got to see the lady monkey astronaut. Lady astronaut monkey.
Oh.
You leave bananas on her...
Miss Baker.
Miss Baker, you leave the bananas up on her marker up there? You did. Remember, we actually got a banana. I don't remember if we brought it with us or we got it. We got it, I think, from Buc-ee's. So we're going to give this lady monkey, this astronaut lady monkey, the first astronaut lady monkey in space for America.
Gosh.
And put it on her historical marker.
Yeah.
And is it Goddard Space Center in Alabama?
I can't.
Yeah, but anyway, we went there because we also went to the Dead Children's Playground.
God,
which was kind of a weird, creepy place. So, just so you know.
Found outside the U.S. Space and Rocket Center is what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all they keep calling it.
And, of course, we got there right before they closed.
Yeah. And apparently dogs were not allowed.
Yeah, so I stayed in the car and you ran up there and put a monkey thing up there.
Yeah.
Gave her a banana. So there you go. We did our part. We're going to virtue signal that we went and seen. So this is something I put in here because we've been kind of talked a little bit about Bigfoot, dude running on a platform of Bigfoot tourism and stuff. We talked about tourism last podcast. And we've gone to places and there's places to go check this stuff out. And just in general, I like going to little Bigfoot museums and stuff like that when we can see them. This one may actually close, and it's one that's been around for like 20 years. It's in California. I think it's in California. Yeah. So this Capritoris Bigfoot Discovery Museum is probably going to close its doors after about 20 years. So it's in the community of Felton, and it was basically started, I guess, by Michael Rugg, who created the cryptozoological collection back in 2024. He had it in a small shed in his property, and the Quirky Museum basically has an array of Bigfoot-related materials from plaster casts, books, newspaper clippings, and Sasquatch movie memorabilia. So there was the idea that Cliff Barrickman might take it off his hands.
Yeah.
So I don't exactly know why it's closing. I don't know if it's financial reasons or somebody can't take care of it, or basically just the pandemic sort of closed the doors on a lot of these places. He's been kind of holding out. Now, according to the article, it says that Rugg indicated he decided to move on because of high mortgage rate and ongoing health issues. It's California, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it won't shut down, but it looks like it's probably going to. So it'd be cool to see a bunch of Bigfoot people get together and keep this place alive. But I think that some of the interest in this stuff has sort of waned over time. I'm not exactly sure, but it'd be cool to see if Cliff picked it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to remain open for a brief window of opportunity. And then hopefully he's going to try to keep it open for like Friday to Monday until someone purchases the property. And he says when the sale happens, that'll be it. That's when it'll close. So.
Wait, do you get everything in the museum? Wait, I didn't.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know what conveys with the sale. Probably if you have a Bigfoot museum and you're trying to sell it as a Bigfoot museum, I would think that most things have to go. Like if it's part of the museum and listed somehow, inventory or whatever, it probably should convey with it. But who knows? I would probably think that the inventory, if there is one, is not very accurate. I don't know. I don't see a place like that being, Smithsonian level indexed and categorized and things.
Yeah.
Because, you're not trying to establish provenance with some of this stuff. I'm sure a lot of it's been like donated or given or, just gathered over time. Like you can buy plaster casts when you go to things like Crypticon. People sell them.
Yeah.
Just put it in your museum.
So I clicked on the other article. Basically, whoever becomes the new owners will not operate the museum on the property as it was grandfathered in after the land was rezoned to residential use. Anyone who buys the property now is going to be limited to residential ownership only. So that's kind of not cool.
Well, it's sad to see it go. We never had a chance to check it out.
Yeah.
So basically, probably what would happen if somebody wanted to get it all, it's probably going to come down to the very end of the whole thing. Dude's like, I'm out. And somebody's going to be like, well, what are you going to do with all this stuff? And he's going to be like, I don't know. I'd like to see it to go somewhere. And somebody's just going to start boxing it all up and maybe it'll start to show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. So speaking of a serial cat shaver.
Nice transition there.
Well, I'm good at that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's a serial cat shaver on the prowl in New Zealand, and there's a picture of a cat with a square shaved out of him, and his little skin. He's got his fur and it's like a square. So cat owners in New Zealand are sounding the alarm about a sinister miscreant who's been stereotypically shaving their feline friends.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the most interesting part of the entire article is the first sentence.
Yeah.
So basically, it's come to play that, there's been a couple cats been shaved, right? There's been a Persian Maine Coon mix named Bosco. He disappeared twice in a week. The first incident saw the cat return with a shaved stomach, right? And then when he came back the second time, he wound up having his mane trimmed. And so they're thinking this may have been the handiwork of a clipper welding ne'er-do-well. And so the Robinsons took their concerns to a local Facebook page where it soon revealed that there appears to be a serial shaver on the prowl.
Okay. So, I'm just going to interject here. If all of the cats are being shaved on their stomach, what's happening is someone is doing trap and release spay and neuter and not telling people. Because this happens actually here in the South a lot. If you let your cat wander around, it's considered an alley cat. It's considered a feral cat.
Well, they haven't made mention of any kind of surgical scarring or anything like that, or evidence, but they're saying stuff like, it was strange because the shaving is from the top of his belly down to his back legs, very clearly shaved. Just like weird random patches, very cleanly shaved. So I don't think that's part of it. It could be part of it, but I don't necessarily think so. It's like, so sadly, all the owners say that being taken, somehow subdued, and then shaved by a stranger proved to be understandably traumatic experience for their pets. It's uncertain if authorities are looking at it, right? But Dr. Alison Vaughn of the New Zealand SPCA indicated that the group is aware and are investigating the situation. And with the shaver still on the prowl, She basically suggested that owners keep a close eye on their feline friends and consider keeping their cat home. Well, maybe the cat's just wandering around and the dude's like, I'm tired of this cat crapping in my flowers. Mm-hmm. So he grabs them and shaves them down a little bit, gives them a little, here you go. And the cat's freaked out. The cat's probably never going to go back there again.
But to shave a cat on
got to add a little shaming into it too. Now the cat's ashamed.
That takes work.
his belly all the way down to his back legs.
Yeah. That
the whole back of him.
No. Because like, as wily as cats are, I would understand maybe chunks taken out of like its side or top of the cat. To shave its underneath, you have to subdue the cat.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of cats, phantom groomer.
I think this has been like a trap and release, like spay-neuter program.
Maybe they left it out, but I don't know.
I mean,
maybe the cat's just chilling. Maybe it gives them, a little, eat some of this feline deliciousness, right? It's got some sleeping stuff in there, and maybe guy's just doing his art. Maybe these are part of some like weird art project. I keep thinking back to my buddy John, who his roommate had a cat that kept giving him the stink eye, and he gave him a mohawk. When they sent me pictures of it, I was like, "Man, what's wrong? What's wrong with that cat?" And he's like, "I'm tired of him looking at me." I gave him a mohawk because he would just go into his room because John didn't particularly care for the cat, and the cat was like, "Oh, you don't like me? Well, I'm going to hang out. I'll show you, right?" And he gave me that haircut. The cat didn't come back. It's very fun because I got a picture. I'm like, "What? What?" The cat looked. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I'm like, why does that cat look like that? Mohawk. And it was crooked. It wasn't even a good looking mohawk. I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy. So I think we're going to take a second and get ready to wrap up the podcast, but I did want to include this. There's an app now that allegedly can help you have lucid dreams. So a phone app, this is in Science News, on their website. Everything we talk about in the podcast is also available in our show notes, just say links and that sort of thing. I normally say that, but I forgot. But there's a phone app that can help people have lucid dreams, according to this article. And this is by Maria Timming at sciencenews.org. And if you want to have a dream where you know that you're dreaming, you might be in luck. There's a phone app that seems to boost users' odds of having lucid dreams. And so what it does is like the app has users listen to specific sound or a series of beeps or different sounds, and they, in practice, associating that cue, right, with a keen awareness of their thoughts and body. And then when the app plays that sound again, roughly 6 hours later, it's meant to reactivate that self-awareness in the sleeping user, coaxing them to become lucid in mid-dream.
So this is almost like, we talked about this years ago on the podcast, the binaural beats.
Yeah.
I can't talk. Oh my gosh. But it's like taking it a step further because you're basically training your brain using these beats to now enter into a lucid state. I mean, sure, I could see how it'd be possible, but how do you know if I don't know. How do you know if your brain's truly responding to this or something else?
Well, I don't know, but the sensory cues, according to them, have proved fairly effective for inducing lucid dreams in sleep studies. But a researcher usually tracks someone's sleep to play sounds during the REM stage, when lucid dreams are most likely to occur, right? And so new experiments now show that a rough approximation of the technique using an app can promote lucid dreaming at home. So I guess as long as you're in REM sleep and you're, kind of have set something off to know.
Yeah.
That you're actually dreaming, then you can, do whatever. And so this DIY approach may be helpful to people who have lucid dreams for recreation or research. So maybe if they've got somebody researching this thing on the nature of consciousness, and they can use this app to probably do something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. But yeah, at the Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, built and tested the app, so it's just not like some random nefarious company, right? Because I'm like, I don't know about that, right? But so researchers at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, built and tested the app, and in one experiment, 19 people used it every night for a week. During the previous week, the group reported an average of 0.74 lucid dreams. During the week of the app use, that ramped up to 2.11 lucid dreams. That's a big increase to go from like almost 1 to, two times more roughly, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, and that's from cognitive neuroscientist Kelly Conkley, or Concokley.
Okay.
Lucid dreaming once a week is a lot. But it wasn't completely clear that the app's sound cues is what actually led to the increase. It could just be that focusing on lucid dreaming for a week or expectations or something was responsible for it. In other words, if you're thinking about it and you're training for it, then you're going to have more. They can't say that the sounds and all that stuff has anything to do with it, although it probably helps to have a sort of a trigger to go into it, to know. I don't know, like a monk, Tibetan monk gong or something crazy like that. But
yeah.
So everyone got lucidity triggering sounds from training while they slept the first night, but on the second night, the app, unbeknownst to the users, switched things up, and only 40% heard the sounds from the training, while another 35 got the sounds they had not practiced linking to lucidity, and the final 37 heard no sounds at all.
Yeah. So the first night, 17% of the participants reported lucid dreams. The second night, people who heard the sounds from training kept up that rate of lucid dreaming, but only 5% of the people in the other two groups had lucid dreams, hinting that the real sound cues were indeed behind the app's effectiveness.
Yeah.
So it is a matter of training your brain.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Kind of weird. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to try it, but I mean, it's hard enough for me to get sleep anyways, so.
Well, I mean, I could lucid dream multiple times a week if I wake up and go right back to sleep, and it becomes a lucid dream.
Yeah.
For me, I think it happens all the time. And it really effectively happens when my CPAP machine cuts off and I have no air.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, because, it's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So you have the air blowing in your face the whole time, and then all of a sudden it turns off, and you go from being peacefully sleeping to clawing at your face trying to get some air. Then you go right back into having dreams about, suffocation, drowning.
Not cool.
Yeah, fiery stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast. We do appreciate you taking the time to listen to the CreepGeeks Podcast or CreepGeeks Podcast. We respond to both, keyword being CreepGeeks. It's been fun having you here. This has been Season 8, Episode 324.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media. Either, like our Facebook page to get updates on new episodes, or, join the Facebook group. We're fairly active. It's mostly funny stuff and show ideas. So jump in, share your creepy experience, weird experience, or share some suggestions for the show. We appreciate it. Okay?
Absolutely. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. But otherwise, we'll see you again. So see you later. Take it easy. Bye, Sickle.
Bye.